Good morning, everyone. I'm Christian Atali. Today I'm going to present about vermiculture in the Philippines. This presentation starts with the terminology in the vermiculture, history of vermiculture in the Philippines, earthworm species in the Philippines, culture of earthworms, productions and use of vermicompost, production and use of earthworms. First, I would like to provide you a short background about Philippines. The Philippines is a tropical country where agriculture is the number one source of income of many Filipinos. It is an archipelago consisting of 7,640 islands and has populations of 109 million people. The Philippines' major agriculture products include rice, coconuts, corn, sugarcane, bananas, pineapples, and mangoes. Being an agricultural country, the use of vermiculture is essential. Study shows that there were 400 species of endemic earthworms were introduced in the Philippines. To fully understand the concept of vermiculture, I'd like to define the following terminologies. Vermiculture refers to the culture of worms. Vermicomposting is the use of worms for composting organic materials. Vermicompost refers to the product of vermicomposting, and vermiculturist refers to the individual who farms, breeds, and cares for worms. Vermiculture in the Philippines can be traced way back in 1970s. It started in the latter part of the year when the earthworm known as Perionyx Excavatus was introduced from Taiwan. However, it was found later that it was not Ferritium asiatica, but it was confirmed to be Perionyx Excavatus. Then later in the Philippines Earthworm Center, PIC, was established in 1978. After a few years in the Philippines Council for Aquatic Marine Research and Development convened the first Philippine Vermic Symposium workshop in 2003 and an international symposium workshop on vermiculture technology for developing countries in 2005. Let's move on to the earthworm species culture in the Philippines. One of the common species is the Perionyx Excavatus. This type of earthworm is known as Indian blue worms. They are native in South Asia. The other species are Eudrilus Eugeniae. They are known as African night crawlers. They have distinctive mix of gray and purple color. They were introduced to the Philippines by Otto Graf from Germany in 1982. This kind of earthworms is suitable to be cultured in the Philippines because they are big and fast reproduce. Earthworms cultured in many different ways. For instance, Perionyx excavatus can be cultured using the indoor wooden boxes that measured 60 by 46 by 20 centimeter. Make sure that the inside of the box consists of pre-decomposed bedding materials consisting of sawdust, rice hulls, and rice bran in ratio of 1 to 1 to 1 proportion. There are about 2,000 earthworms equivalent to 2 kg or 4.41 pounds are stocked per box and fed with fresh animals manure and materials such as soybean residues. Using these procedures, it will yield to 100% earthworm biomass per day. The box moisture content should be maintained at 60 to 80% with the pH at 6.5 to 7. Using this procedure will double the weight of earthworms to 4 kilograms per box, equivalent to 8.81 pounds after 45 to 60 days of culture. When provided with different organic substrates and stock, at 70-75 earthworms per day after 31 of culture of smaller box, Excavatus weight increases. This indicates that the type of bedding material can affect rates of earthworm growth considerably. And another way culturing the earthworm by using 0.78 square meter circular tank. The tank consists of 20 kilogram pre-decomposed Mora buffalo waste and 200 breeding earthworms of 0.45 average weight. Study shows that average survival is 97%. The average weight of the earthworm is 0.66 grams. An average of juvenile productions of Excavatus per tank after 4 weeks of culture in 4 weeks in culture is 1,420. This method shows that increase in both weight, and numbers of earthworms with reproductions and growth is suitable medium. An individual 0.4 gram. Excavatus start breeding when it's less than 6 weeks of age. The other type of earthworm can be cultured is Eudrilus Eugeniae. If this earthworm is stuck at 200 individuals per wooden box, equivalent to 0.28 square meter, with 75 pig manure and 25 sawdust as substrate, and significant weight grains are possible. The other method is using a 1.5 square meter outdoor beds with 200 kilogram of 75% fresh grass shredded, 25 animal manure dry, and stocking rate of 0.7 kilogram per square meter. This method will produce a highest net earthworms biomass productions after 35 culture days. Here are the example of warm bed and warm bin in the Philippines. Now, let's move to productions and use of vermicompost. Vermicompost consists of mixtures of earthworm excrement and other organic materials produced by earthworms has the properties of improving soil structures and fertility with its organic content. Plant nutrients and diverse microbial populations demonstrated to suppress plants' pathogens, parasitic nematodes, and arthropod pests. Vermicompost applications are appropriate for light soils low in organic matter. It has high cation exchange capacity and provide culture plants with available nutrients. The organic matter and nutrient content of vermicompost uh, varies with the kind of substrate used to produce it. The common bedding materials or substrates used for vermicomposting in the Philippines are rice straw, animal manures, grass, dried leaves of fruits trees, and leaves with leguminous trees. Okay. The plant materials are chopped or shredded to reduce them to 1 to centimeter particle size and increase their surface area to promote microbial actions. Moisture level of 60 to 80% is maintained in the materials from the initial anaerobic stage of decomposition until the final aerobic decomposition stage with the earthworms. In the anaerobic stage, the mix or watered organic substrates are kept in a pile covered in with an impervious sheet-like plastic or in a closed container for ferment for 2 to 3 weeks. Following this, earthworms are stocked at an appropriate density of mixtures of adults and juveniles or under aerobic conditions for culture period of 4 to 6 weeks. 50 to 60% of original weight of the materials can be recovered as vermicompost if properly maintained and protected from predators like centipedes, beetle grubs, and parasitic flatworms. One of the product vermicompost is vermi-tea or compost tea or worm tea. Vermi-tea is a aqueous extract of vermicompost contains plants growth regulators and many aerobic microorganisms. The tea is applied as spray on the plants and soil at bi-weekly intervals depending on the infestations prepared by the placing permeable bag with 7.5 kilograms or 16.5 pounds of vermicompost in a 30-liter or 8-gallon container with water. With manual steering and bubbling with an electric aquarium erotic, the tea is ready for use after a day or two. After filtrations is dilutions in water and a 1 to 10 ratio. Earthworm can be used as protein as animals fed and human food. Earthworm protein has been produced in the Philippines by culturing the Excavatus and Eugeniae, and Excavatus biomass produced in concrete tanks with fermented Moro buffalo manure and dried Leucocephala. The use of earthworm protein to replace fish meal in the diets of cultured aquatic species has shown potential for aquaculture industry in the Philippines. Dried Excavatus was found to contain appreciable amount of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. To conclude, vermicomposting in the Philippines is becoming popular because it is low cost, low tech, but scientifically based technology. It has 5 easy steps to follow. First, gathering of materials. Second, preparations of materials and warm bed and aerobic decompositions from 10 to 15 days. Aerobic decompositions from 30 to 45 days. Then you can have the vermicompost and earthworm biomass. Lastly, there is no doubt that vermicompost is an effective organic fertilizers. Here are comparison of plants with no fertilizers and with vermicompost. The pictures show the big difference. These pictures are all taken from different places in the Philippines. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you and mahalo.